Om Sri Sai Ram. I have the pleasure of introducing Professor Pallav Kumar Barua, who is the HOD of the Department of Mathematics and Computer Science. Professor Pallav stands tall in this university as someone who has got a clear balance between academics, personal life, and spiritual life. That's how I summarize him. He is ever energetic, passionate about academics, and in his daily life, he exhibits the qualities of a true yogi. And it is our privilege, the DMAX faculty, to have him as our colleague. I remember as an undergrad student, I was in my final year undergrad, and I had our professor G.V. Prabhakar sir had arranged for a special class where first time I saw Pallav introducing data structures in C programming. That was my first introduction to Pallav. Later he went on to become a research scholar and did his PhD in differential equations under Professor Venkateshwarlu. And then he was dedicated in hostel, working in maintenance department, working for mega events like sports meet that happens annually on 11th of January, which is like a festival for everyone to see. He has been a warden in the hostel and gave very good services at hostel. And he has been a BOS member, he has been a Board of Management member, and is currently as a HOD, he has influenced the program and galvanized the department to reach the higher levels. He has crossed a century in his publications. He has got publications both in computer science and in mathematics, and his CV is very, very spectacular in that way. For a small place like us, he is an inspiration for students and young faculty to emulate, and never ceases to function for excellence. To summarize him, just 1 second, sir, I will stop because this is an opportunity for me also to let our faculty and students to know an important, just to summarize what he is in one sentence. He is intensely associated with the work, karmashu kaushalam, and supremely detached from within. This combination is the success formula for the way he functions in the department or he deals with people. Okay, so with this few words, I think I'll invite Pallav to the stage.
Working. So, Om Sri Sai Ram. Good morning to everyone. Thank you, Raghunath Sharma, for a wonderful introduction. Today, I stand here in front of you. I have already taken permission from all the members of the organizing committee that I will be taking little more than actually time that is allotted to me. I'll be making two different presentations, which are totally different from the theme that has been going on so far. The first presentation will be about the institution and the educational system that we are following, which we consider as a blessing or the boon of our Divine Master Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. And the following presentation, I will be talking a little bit about the kind of research that I am associated with my students and other colleagues. So with these few words, I'll start. We dedicate this presentation to our master, and this will be a short introduction to the Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning. So first, we'll talk about the philosophy of the education. The underlying philosophy here is that spiritual and secular education should go hand in hand, and in that sense, we are creating or we are having a what we call a modern Gurukula system here. So to enable the students to acquire moral, ethical, and spiritual strength along with their secular education. So this is what we say that we prepare the students for the life. A young man coming into the organization to an university is supposed to train him for his life. If the life span is for 80, 90 years, the person spends about 5 years in the university. So within these 5 years, you have to encapsulate everything so that the seeds that we plant in this germinates and becomes a gigantic tree during his lifetime. So that is the goal of this education system, and what we say educare. Educare is supposed to bring forth the latent, hidden talents in the person, and so that he or she ultimately flourishes into a fully blossomed personality, an individual who is useful to the society. And these are another two things, that love is the basic principle to bring a society or to bring an individual, to make him an integral part of the society, and then to inspire him to work for the overall good of the human civilization. That is what we have been trained, and we are part of this institution. Love and sacrifice, these are the two bounds on which your stream or the river of life should flow, so that ultimately it reaches the ocean where you become one and you have the sense of unity with everyone around, which brings what we call the harmony in the society, and therefore ultimately overall good for the entire globe and human civilization. So these are basic things to inculcate love and quality, noble qualities in the students, and to shape youth into self-reliant, contented, and enterprising heroes of action and self-sacrifice for the purpose of serving humanity. These qualities we try to impart, this system tries to impart in every student who goes through this system. And we really, as personally I am part of this system, I joined here in 1985 for my BSc program, and really feel very proud about being part of this institution and also getting an opportunity to serve here as a teacher. So these are some distinctive features. Our education is totally free of cost. That is one of the features. Right from, in fact, under this umbrella of Sri Sathya Sai Central Trust, we have a lot of educational institutions giving education from KG to PG, as we say. At all levels, education is imparted totally free of cost. That is one thing. But then quality of it is never compromised. We have all the modern infrastructure. We have nationally, taking part in the examination, admission processes on a merit basis. There is nothing like, people whom we like, we take, or things like that. All the students seated here, they have gone through the admission test, which is conducted nationally, and a rigorous process is gone through for them to get admitted to this system. Okay, so these are academic excellence is one of the main motto, and the research always we want to, and we are being, this is the policy of the institution, the research should be socially relevant. Whatever we do, in fact, all our science departments specifically are working on projects which are highly socially relevant. One is water, other is in this region, water is highly infested with fluoride and other things, so how to chemically treat them and do things like that. And there are scientists working on in consultation in collaboration with our super specialty hospital. One of the most successful story we can talk about the chondrocyte cell culture, stem cell research, where now people who would have been otherwise undergoing knee replacement and things like that, the cell is cultured within the lab and it is implanted, chondrocyte cells, and therefore giving a longevity to their knee and other joints, etc. So these kind of things are provided free of cost to the patients, which is otherwise outside cost a humongous amount for the people. In fact, yesterday when I was speaking to Professor Carlos, he said, yeah, such things, maybe people they'll change their life outside. They may have to sell their property, their house, and undergo those operations. Such things are provided free of cost here. So that is how, as we said, socially relevant research, that is highly encouraged here. And we are very happy that today, sitting here, we are discussing in these 4 or 5 days, and everything what we are discussing has been socially relevant, highly relevant to the societal life. And in fact, that is one of our policy. So a few key facts we want to talk about. This is our student profile. Right now we have 4 campuses operating, and we have 1,338 students spread across different campuses and faculty-wise, sciences, management and commerce, economics and humanity. There are 69 research scholars, pure research scholars. Out of 29 states in India, we have representative students from all 26 states. So it is a pan-Indian university. These are certain national level exams where our students are performing. By the way, national average is somewhere around 3 to 4% successful candidates of from any other national university. And we really stand apart in this. So this is academic and administrative staff. It actually shows that we are very lean on administrative staff. Most of the things our teachers do by themselves, even HOD or dean or whatever. I mean, we do a lot of administrative work as part of our own work. Teachers and PhD students, this is the profile. And we have a big list of visiting faculty, because once a person comes here, we really try to collaborate, and people feel like coming back. Thank you so much. Professor Carlos is showing thumbs up. We have been telling that yes, you will have to make frequent plans to visit our place. Thank you. So teachers, we have a good band of residential teachers, because this whole system is residential. Students, all the students stay in the campus in our hostel, and there are teachers who stay in the hostel to be a good companion to the students in their journey in the campus. And this is the student and teacher ratio, 9:1. For every 9 students, we have a teacher. Infrastructures wise, these are the fund outlay. This is 2.6:1 student computer ratio for the whole university, but I should put in record that for the Department of Maths and Computer Science, it is 1:1. Every student has a computer for inside. These are our campuses. Anantapur, this is the women campus in the Anantapur. Swati Devra had gone and she had a session on 10. This is the Brindavan campus in Whitefield, Bangalore, which is purely undergraduate campus. And this is our campus, Prashanthi Nilayam here. This is a newly born campus in 2011, Muddenahalli, Chikkabalapur. So this is coming up. These are certain labs. I'll go fast on these things. There is nothing much to talk. These are auditorium, prayer sessions, classes. This is kind of language lab where students do some workshops and things. Library. This is the hostel at Prashanthi Nilayam, Muddenahalli hostel. These are some of the hostel housing, the kind of things students are provided. Games, stadium. This is a indoor stadium right next campus where we do all kinds of gymnastics, and we have indoor basketball, volleyball, badminton courts. This is actually yoga, International Yoga Day, 21st June. We had a yoga demonstration in the stadium. So this is actually a scene of that. These are tennis courts. Academic programs. We have, I'll talk about mainly DMAX program on the next slide, but these are all the academic programs for various faculty we have. So we actually have run a lot of academic programs, both undergraduate and postgraduate level, including management science, computer science, optoelectronics, things like these are certain shots of the academic events. This was one of the DMAX workshop on differential geometry in 2015. These are some of the classes, students' participation. We have these many doctoral research scholars, grants received from various. This is the Central Research Instrument Facility, newly inaugurated, and we have housed a lot of equipments, and basically for all 3 branches of natural science, physics, chemistry, and biosciences. And this is what it is. These are some of the facilities in that lab, and this is what we see. Spiritual foundation of our education. We see the soul of education is the education of the soul. And we believe in that, and that is how the whole thing is. Campus life is kind of tuned. So bring out what is latent within, inherent goodness, what we call human values. So whatever we do, ultimately we coordinate or we tune our activities to this, so that inherent goodness in the individual comes up and it blossoms. Education is the manifestation of the perfection inherent in man. That's what Swami Vivekananda said, and we also believe and emulate that. This is how the model of educare, where I will go to the next slide, where actually these 5 different dimensions of training we encourage we in fact take part, and this is how ultimately the personality of the individual blossom forth. Development of head, heart, and hands. So if you look at the individual in his life, this is what it is. If head, heart, and the hands, they are in unison, ultimately you have a very good personality and individual, serving the causes in society. So this is what it is. And quickly I will go through different dimensions of the integral education. Our system we call integral education because we are integrating spirituality and secular education, and this in fact students' grade card, when we ultimately issue the grade card for degree, there are 2 different components on it. On the grade card, they are integral education, performance is also embedded there, and then comes the academic performance. So these are different dimensions. Co-curricular activities, curricular activities, this is co-curricular, right? So we need to expose the students about our cultural heritage, the rich culture and spiritual heritage of Bharat, and they take part in summer course. Prayer session is one of the important things on daily life. This is Vedam chanting, music. Then this is one of the big thing in India, Ganesh Chaturthi. So as you see in this, students have prepared a chariot for Lord Ganesha, which is something like what you would have otherwise put a Santa Claus on it. So it is like, this is what it is, the unity in thinking and blending of different cultures, and that is what we actually encourage to make our students a responsible and accountable world citizen of the new era. So that is one of the goals of this education system. This is one thing in the part of Eid al-Fitr. These are all Hindu students, but performing something about Muhammadan and Islam and things like that. This is another festival, Krishna Janmashtami, Dahi Handi breaking. So that is another thing our students do. These are training, orchestra, music, band. Brass band is one of the component of our campuses. They have we have our own brass bands. These are Indian Nadaswaram from Kerala region. Panchavadiyam, this is a drama presentation, these are drama. Then musical presentations by students, dance, rangoli, performing arts, public speaking. Then physical education is given a lot of importance, because unless you have a sound body, you will not be having a sound mind. So it is a part of our education system. Sports and games, yoga, different varieties of game, then some adventure sports like this, microlight flying. These are annual sports and cultural meet, which is an annual event, and students, we kind of take a break for about 15 days. 15 days in January, total off, and everybody takes part in sports and cultural activities, and they have big demonstrations. Some of them, this is the inaugural ceremony of the sports meet, students giving salute to the dais, flag hoisting, march past, girl students doing motorcycle stunts, jumping over ramps, going through fire and things. This is some synchronized driving, girls jumping through fire ring. Yeah, this is gymnast actually jumping over the fire. These are again some of the acrobats. These are some synchronized drill. And this is how it is. And service is another important thing, because as we have been saying that service to society is a very important dimension of blossoming in personality. And love in heart and hands in society, and that is how our life should be. So service is encouraged, like students themselves take care of their colleagues, providing first aid. Then this is something like repairing. In the hostel, in the dorms, if they have any small repairs, students do by themselves, they organize themselves. We call it group of self-reliance departments. This is managing and maintaining the library in the campus, in the hostel, serving food for their, for every meal sessions. Students serve by themselves. This is some departmental stores, all your daily needs. Our students need not go anywhere outside. It is being run, managed by students by themselves, and even the floor management is by students. Entertainment, so all the PA system and all other things students do on their own. Right now we have 2 students managing the whole PA system for this event. We don't have any professional here, okay. The community service, yeah, applause to them. And students also go out to nearby villages in the respective campuses and take part in community service. So that brings them to light actual situation in villages. And when tomorrow they grow up and take leadership positions while taking decisions, whether it is research or administration, these things will be in their back of their mind that you need to serve that last person there standing in the line. You know, this is some cleaning the drains, sewerage system in a village, serving the needy, the elderly. These are some of the shots. This is cleaning up the riverbed. We have a river here, Chitrauti, it has dried up. So students and concerned authorities, we have started a project cleaning up the riverbed so that some projects can be taken up to make the river flow again, right? So this is like providing light. You know, the village folks, their houses are very dark. So students have come up with this facility, plastic bottle with water. Some of them are seated here actually, those who were actually involved in this. You were there? Yeah, Manoj Reddy was there. So they have gone to villages and provide this so that even the, during the day, their huts are actually bright and at no cost to them. So some of them fall. We have 2 super specialty hospitals where a lot of patients come from all over to get treated. Cardiac operation, neural operation, surgery, and a lot of follow-up actions need to be taken. So Manoj Reddy, he is there. This gentleman is sitting behind you here. So these students, during their holidays, during vacation, they go and meet those people. And in consultation with the hospital team, they advise them on all the follow-ups and things like that. So thereby, once again, finding the unity with the society, with the brethren. So this is how. And finally, we feel that our students, when they pass out of the system, yeah, we feel that these are the qualities actually it gets embedded into their personality when they go through all these activities throughout their stay. So that is what about this institution I was talking. Now I'll go to the next presentation. Okay, next presentation, I would like to mention a little bit about the academic work I am associated with being part of this department. I started my studies as a differential equation man. I completed my PhD. For some time after completing PhD, yes, we were very busy teaching because there was a transition time from mathematics to computer science, and one needs to pick up a lot of subjects on your own and also teach and things like that. And slowly we stabilized, and there's a requirement and also drive in the ecosystem that I slowly moved towards high performance computing, parallel processing, algorithms and things like that. So that is how, but still heart remains with differential equation and analysis. I still have a student, Mr. Bharadwaj, who was here. We are working on qualitative study of coupled nonlinear differential equation. In fact, we are looking for higher order coupled system. And we are developing the theory, and it will be very nice if someone can give us real life situations where your models are higher order coupled nonlinear systems. It will be very nice. This work is going well. And functional differential equation also we work, developing some theory and models for interface problems using functional differential equations. And because I work in parallel processing, started teaching, and because of students' demand, started doing MTech project, and that is how I see myself, the transition and also growing or doing things more in computer science than mathematics. It is due to students' demand and their interest. So in the context of this, somewhere around 2011, we started picking up a problem on SIR model. So when yesterday we were talking about SIR and all the variants of that, we picked up, and that was a time when GPUs are coming up in the thing. By the way, we are a GPU research center given by the, acknowledged by the NVIDIA. So that is one good thing about us, and we have some hardware provided by NVIDIA. So when we started on SIR model, we felt that yes, there is a lot of scope to make it more efficient using GPUs. And that is what we did, and that time we had some collaborations or understanding and connections with Professor David Bader from Georgia Tech and Madhav Marathe from Virginia Tech. So on their data, we tried and it worked, and we were getting very good performance. So a feeling was that yes, this could be epidemiology, could be one area. We will start with computational. I spoke to my dear Vamsi that let us start with epidemiology. Vamsi said, no, ecology is my area, I will do ecology now, epidemiology. But today he is organizing an epidemiology meeting. I'm very happy. Maybe time has to be ripe for things to happen, okay? So that is that kind of thing, lot of bits and pieces we worked. So today I am going to talk about few HPC problems which I feel, though we work sometime later and some of the ongoing work, it has got tremendous relevance in the current situation where we are. We also worked with a lot of high performance computing stuff where we actually worked to enhance the performance in the large cluster. With one of the students, we worked on Jaguar cluster in the United States, where we ran our code on 10,000 nodes, meaning 1,20,000 cores of it. And our application ran, and we did a load balancing work on that, which was highly recognized, because that kind of a load balancing and getting the extraction of the performance of the hardware is very difficult. So like that, a lot of work we did, but because of this audience, I will not talk about such things. I will talk about simple applications, which I feel on the current day is of interest. So this is what it is, but before going to that, I will talk about a little bit about DMAX academic program. We have an undergraduate program where BSc Mathematics Honors, which is a typical mathematics honors program. They are also in the third year of their stay. We also introduce them to data structures, algorithms, programming, and things like that. And then we have a Bachelor of Computer Application program, where it is purely computer science and applications of it. At master's level, we have this MSc Mathematics program, where we specialize, we also offer specialization in computer science and actuarial science. This department, from time to time, we keep embracing the most relevant and most needed fields of science. It started in 1981. In 1993, we embraced computer science because that was the upcoming field, and mathematicians can really contribute a lot. That is what was the feeling, and it has been a successful thing, and we really observe right now demand is actually computer science people who has a big, very strong foundation in mathematics. Such are the people actually everyone looking for. And that way we feel that that was a very right decision. Similarly, now we are starting actuarial science. Actuarial science has been a science which is over the time has developed very well. It has got all the nuances to help growth of business and organizations. But then issue is all their good theory, good science that is developed, if you want to apply in real life, you need a very strong computational support, which is lacking right now. So our motive is that MSc Mathematics students, if they specialize in actual science, and after that we can give them a lot of support through computing skill, and they may become actually most sought after persons in the industry. And they can really serve the industry, because right now the thing is that you want everything get done in click of a button. A manager in an insurance company cannot wait for 2 days to take a decision. Rather, he wants it on a click of a button, all the necessary information, which we can help him using HPC to process and get those things done. So this is the intention which we actually started this specialization. And brother sitting here, he's one of the students, the first batch of actuarial science students. And some of the MTech students who worked on actuarial science, they are already placed in companies the moment they went out and things like that. So this is about MSc. We have started MSc Data Science and Computing. So that is another convergence of computing and data science, which is once again a big necessity right now in society in different organizations. So we are doing that program, and of course MTech pure computer science. In MTech computer science, we specialize in high performance computing, machine learning, deep learning, and computer vision. These are the main specialization. And of course, we have the PhD program in mathematics and computer science. The main thrust areas of the department are these: differential equation analysis, mathematical modeling, deep learning, machine learning, computer vision, and medical image processing. We have done a lot of work, and even now, like Professor Ratish Kumar, in collaboration with Uday Kiran, we are trying to do some problems like early detection of cardiac disorder. Can we bring in some fluid dynamics mechanism and also imaging, image processing, and high performance computing to detect from ordinary ultrasound and CT images, talk about early detection of cardiac disorder and things like that. So a lot of scope is there, and we have a very good place here for collaboration with the hospitals. So medical image processing is a strong area department has been working and want to do more. Another area is cryptography and digital information security. We have our faculty members working on this, and also, for example, cyber security problems and blend with machine learning. It can become a really very potent solution base for many problems in cyber security. We are working on that. Students are doing their projects. And of course, high performance computing with parallel distributed computing. So these are the main thrust areas of the department. So with these few words, we are a GPU research center. So I will talk about few domains like bioinformatics, healthcare, insurance, and some societal issues, how HPC can help in these domains. And department is mostly supported by these kind of organizations. We have partial funding from different studies and etc. So first thing I am talking about parallel implementation of DNA multiple pattern recognition algorithm on compressed space. So what is happening? We know we are in a world of big data, and data storage is a big issue. So it is very natural that people have been talking about compress the data and store. For example, you want to do a study on a hurricane or you want to simulate. There are a lot of data available. If you want to store all this data, it is difficult on the space available, so people compress and save it. We have also done a lot of such work. But issue is, compression is one thing, but when you want to analyze the data and work on it, you need to decompress. And actually, effectively, you are putting more work than otherwise. So our intention in this thing is that, can we do our analytics, can we do our computation on the data or the simulation in the compressed space itself, on the compressed data. And if we can do that, I think that is a landmark achievement. And we have published about 2-3 papers. I will just put everything together and give you a hint of it. What we have done is that we have taken the case of this DNA sequence, which is one of the most important thing about in bioinformatics. So can we decompress the sequences and keep them? And then we have demonstrated things like sequence alignment or multiple patterns in the sequence you identify in the compressed sequence itself without decompressing the sequence. So this is kind of, it has received some lot of recognition. So that is what it is. So what we have done is that DNA compression algorithms, then the compression ratio ultimately you want to maximize so that you have maximum compression, and high throughput of the whole work, we use some multi-core and GPU systems. So that is what it is. And then ultimately, this is the algorithm we propose in compressed space, and we show that our results are really good. It stands apart. So compression technique, basically what we do is we have this AZCT, and we have used a very simple kind of compression like AZCT you have. We code them with 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1. So fortunately, we have only 4 symbols in the whole DNA thing. So it is very good for us to use only 2-bit strings. So therefore, if you see that, it is all these 4 things, actually 4 characters, if you want to store in the hard disk, in a memory storage, you need 4 bytes. But then all 4 of them together, I can keep in 1 byte. So that is what the strength of the whole compression technique that we have used. And therefore, ultimately, a DNA sequence we can store in 1/4 of a normal storage space. otherwise it would have required. And the whole key is that on that stored compressed thing, can we do the analytics? So that is what we did. And to cut a long story short, what I will show, our strength was also this sample survey. So we surveyed some of the DNA sequence from various databases, and we found that there is a distribution of kind of repeats in the patterns. So that became the strength of our work, because of this study, we could design the compression algorithm in such a way that we leverage on these repeats. And that is why our compression also get shrunk. And then we made another addition to that, we adaptive gen codex, kind of, we created an expert system where given a DNA sequence, first it studies on a sample and then decide which strategy for compression needs to be used. So that is what, this is what it is. This expert system assesses, like out of different compression algorithms, what we have, which one to be used to get the best result. So these are certain things we keep doing. We have designed a lot of expert system in the agro domain, rule engines for running business, etc. So this became a natural thing for us to add on to this, and actually it provided a very good result. So that is what it is. And these are the speed ups in terms of GPU. I don't know to work. What intrigues here is that this is about ultimately on the compressed space when we want to do the sequence alignment or to find out those patterns. These are the number, and this is our GenSeq is our work. These are the state of the art in the literature, what is available, different techniques. And ultimately these pattern alignment or patterns recognition ultimately depends on how many comparisons you are doing. So the comparison is the cost for us. And what you see here is the minimum number of comparisons we are doing than anybody else. So that is what it shows, that it is not only we are gaining the speed of the GPU, but our strategy actually minimizes the number of work actually we need to do. And that is what brings a tremendous combination, and where we can do this thing successfully in as a high performance tool. So the future of this work, precision medicine has become a big thing. It is coming big way, and it is going to be the future, in fact, commonplace. Precision medicine, as I understand now, is that everybody will have their genome in a pen drive or whatever it is, one digital signature. Now, security of that is very important, because anybody can abuse or misuse that data, use it for wrong purposes, but the person doesn't have any choice but to give to clinics or physicians, because they have to ultimately study that and accordingly design medication. So thing is that how do you take care of it? One is the clinics and other people will have a storage issue where this compression algorithm may help. Second thing is the security of it, because it is like if this is leaked or this is goes to a wrong hand, many things can happen. And in fact, genome terrorism can ultimately be on like an epidemic, it may go. Okay, so there is no end to it if the security is compromised. So these are future work. I will come back to these things, and one of the solutions we have in mind is through blockchain, that I will take it up a little later when I talk about blockchain. Another problem, interesting problem, we talked about pharmacovigilance. Basically, pharmacovigilance is be vigilant about adverse drug reaction, what in short we call ADR. Okay, so this we want to do from Twitter data. People tweet, I took this medicine and I have a headache. I had taken this kind of a medicine on this day, around this time, and I had a vomiting and things like that. So from that, can we extract the information about adverse drug reaction, and that should happen on real time. That is the issue. On real time, if you can do that, we have used machine learning and some tools of HPC, and that is what the whole work about. I'll skip these things. What I come to is that, pharmacovigilance, because of negligence or drawbacks in this method, whatever pre-marketing clinical trials, post-marketing surveillance, there are flaws in this system, and therefore actually we have ADR, and we need to take care of that. Real-time detection of ADR is important issue, right? So these are some of the social media sites who help people to get this information. So our problem statement is this: use machine learning techniques to detect ADR from Twitter data. So we worked, and in this context again, ASU, yesterday I saw Anuj Mubai, one of the references, Abbas, right? Abbas has done some work in this, and in fact, our work is in alignment with his work. Yeah, much later in our stage of work, we saw that actually we are going on the same track, and the results show that our results are a little better than him, but that is like, we have not published this so far, because we want to do some more thing, and it was, by the way, we did sometime in 2016, okay. So this is some of the results, and ultimately any kind of predictions, these are the F-score and accuracy, these are the things ultimately we'll end up with and decide our strategy based on these two numbers, right? So, and the whole work pipeline is this, and we work in these two, like classify the data and then extraction of the ADR. This is what our domain focus of work, and this is how we move around ultimately to the classification and data collection, and it happened. We have used Twitter data, which is already available, and AD corpus on these two sets. This is how it goes, and this is very naive way. When you did the classification, this is the kind of results we get on all these methods, and then some challenges to improve it. So what are the main challenges to improve the results are this: can we use some hybrid methods for classification? The large dimensionality of the data that we have with us. Class imbalance is a very common problem in any statistical issues, problems, and methodologies which can reduce labeling effort. So we kind of spent a lot of time on those things, went around and around, number of iterations, all those things I will not talk. Ultimately, our results are like this. This is the state of the art at that time in the literature, and these are our work. If we see the numbers are much better than what we had otherwise. This is on the Twitter data, and this AD corpus, which is actually a corpus because people would have curated the data already. So therefore, results are much better in this and much better for the state of the art as well as ours. And in fact, here with this, we get very good results of prediction of this ADR, which is an encouraging thing. And in our department, there are many other groups who have been working with this kind of Twitter data or Facebook data to extract emotion, sentiments, and analyze them. So all those things are happening, right, in the department. Tech actuary, as I was talking about, actuary is one strong area, and we want to support with giving computational help through HPC. So these are the two problems today we will discuss. Calculation of reserves is a very good thing for any organization's good health. If you want to maintain a good health, in fact, the managers or CEOs should have a dashboard and talking about what should be the reserve you need to maintain at this point of time. I mean, that is our goal, right? At every minute or every some time period, the person deciding authority should know, okay, this should be my reserve. And based on that, he can take many decisions like where to invest, whether to buy some stocks, sell, and things like that. So to maintain a good health of the organization, this is a very important and crucial issue. And we particularly took about insurance company and non-life insurance, because that is where a lot of difficulties are there. Life insurance, even agents and people, they are very particular, they follow meticulous procedure, but non-life moment it comes, whether it is motor vehicle, agro, or whatever it is, there are a lot of issues, a lot of difficulties, and also a lot of frauds in a way. So that is what one area where HPC can help, and of course detection of the frauds. This is a common thing. If we show you some figures like what companies or the nations are losing due to frauds, it is surprising. So this is what it is. So basically problem is in a matrix, if we show development years and origin of the claim, whatever claim that person has put, and how it is developing, this upper half data we will have, and we need to predict or compute this lower half of the matrix. That is what is the problem. Okay, so there are various standard methods for that, and we try to work on it. We take the data, But thing is that any data from these companies you take, basic issue is data cleaning, because of these data is not complete always. It will have a lot of noise and inconsistency. But we know that any quality decision you want to make, ultimately it relies upon quality of data. Therefore, data cleaning, curating, and making it ready for making quality decision is very important. And that was the first step we took. And our main challenges were the main HPC platforms like MPI and GPUs could not fit in, because MPI cannot handle very large files. There are a lot of difficulties. And GPU, there is a big issue of time of shifting data from memory to compute. So therefore, we ultimately landed up on HDFS, Hadoop file system. And we created a small Hadoop cluster from ordinary nodes, compute node, and started working on a Java-based work. And ultimately, what I show you is that this is how the performance increased for the data cleaning. So as this is a single system on Hadoop, single system on the Python code, Hadoop has improved, and a cluster of 3 nodes, it goes almost 6 times of this. So these are a number of checks. This is, by the way, this work we are working in consultation with the IIB, Insurance Information Bureau of Government of India, and IRDA, it is a regulatory authority of Government of India. And they are in fact testing this right now. And if they accept, maybe this will become a norm from Indian companies. The IIB and IRDA will say that your data has to be cleaned with this tool. So it is at that stage. So IIB had given this kind of a test, and this is the levels of cleaning, of testing of data. That is how it is done. And ultimately, we could do this problem. This is one of the method, okay, chain ladder method. This is a very simple and most popularly used in any company to compute reserves, okay. So this method we worked on, and what we show here is that normal systems, serial systems, this is the performance, our GPU performance stands here. This is, by the way, we have used K20 GPU, which is a moderately performing GPU. Right now we have Pascal, Volta, these are very high-end GPUs. And the cost of a K20 is something like around $1,000. So it is not a very big addition to the infrastructure, but companies can gain a big way. Now, the most important thing for us as a HPC solution provider, if we can make people think of doing something which otherwise they would not have thought of. Like, there are so many things, as I have been telling, the actuarial science has grown and developed such a way, but then the computationally they are not strong. Here is one example. This method, inflation adjusted chain ladder. Okay. In this graph, what we are showing is that things being used regularly, less frequently, once in blue moon. If you see the chain ladder, almost everybody, most popular, as I said, regularly people use. And these things, whereas this method, if you see, hardly anybody uses, and it is never used, almost once in a blue moon, right? Very less frequently. Because it is highly compute intensive, if you run the method on ordinary system, it will take maybe few days. So people do not want to use it, though it is actually a very strong method because inflation is taken care of, and actually you get a very good prediction for your reserves. So we start off, kind of thought that if we can provide something for this will be a big service for the whole industry, and that's why we started work. After a lot of hard work put in, we worked on this inflation adjusted chain ladder. Okay, these are the profiling of the code. Ultimately, this is what our performance is. I am cutting short all other things, like, I can give a full talk, 1 hour talk, like how the code ultimately is performing this way. So what we are showing is that this was the performance of serial execution, and this is what the GPUs are doing. Here it is 10,000, here it is less than 100. So in fact, our code is performing almost near 750, 800 times than the normal sequence in code, and the intention is that actually 1,000 times faster is possible. So that is what it is. So this is a matrix of 30 by 30, and what the best thing is that our code is such, it is scaling up very well. And that is what in high performance computing paradigm we call scalability. This is one of the main points of any application. As the size of the problem increases, your performance actually should improve almost linearly. And that is what is seen here. It is 30 by 30 matrix. Normal in applications, if you matrix go to 1000 by 1000, actually our performance will go much higher. So that is what it is. Then of course we are working now using machine learning, how the same, as I was saying that the matrix, the lower triangular part has to be computed. Now we are talking about lower triangular part can be predicted using machine learning, neural networks and things like that. So work is on there, I will not talk much about it. Fraud detection in automobile insurance. This is another big area. Automobile insurance, people at least in India know if somebody has an auto accident today, the person will have different agents will come automatically. And for the same accident of the same car, I do not want to be quoted anywhere, the person may get money claim from 5 or 6 different insurance companies. So that is what it is. So what we need is moment the claim is being registered, that time, then and there, can it be checked and said that it is a fraudulent claim on real time. Can you provide a solution to the companies that as the registration form is being filled, and when you submit, immediately one red blink will come and say that this is not accepted. So that is what our goal, okay, that is the objective we are working with. So now let us see what is it. So these are the, in US, estimated is 40 billion loss per year. In Philippines, $21.2 million. In India, 30,000 crores per year. That is the loss due to this kind of automobile frauds, automobile insurance claim frauds. Just one small area, okay. So if we can really solve this problem, this much is saved to the economy. And what happens? All the companies, they do not have time to go and detect frauds. They have procedures, but if they don't detect, they don't care. All they do is, this loss is put to their customers. So if you are otherwise paying 1,000 rupees premium per month or per year, whatever per unit time, your premium just becomes 1,700 rupees. 1,000 and 1,700, how much we are losing? We don't care. Means we are unaware of this, right? So companies do not care. They feel that they are doing their job. They have to minimize their loss. So they put the burden on all their honest customers. So that is the game going on. So if we have to save ourselves, we have to work for it. So that is what it is, right? So these are certain losses companies are making, how to detect fraud, why you should detect fraud. And the system is this. This process is first identify, refer, and only then investigation takes place. So our work is in these first two blocks, identify and refer, basically. That is what it is. Investigation has to be done physically by investigation agencies and things like that. So this is how normally we'll go about. And this is what generally, if we create a model for fraud detection in companies, and our work is in this model here, right? And this is what we say is our model. Work is on now. I don't have a result to show, but I mean we have encouraging results, but I'm not showing now. It is in good shape, and as I said, our objectives can be achieved, right? That is what it is. That is one important area, and these are the kinds of techniques we'll use. Now finally, I want to talk about blockchain. This is about social issues. Like blockchain is, I would say, is the most disruptive idea of this century, I would say, because the way things are going. Let us start with democracy. Abraham Lincoln said, this is government for the people, by the people, of the people, it shall not perish from the face of earth. And this is here to stay. But what we see looking around, we don't have confidence in the House of Representatives. We know what goes on in Indian Parliament. We know what is going on all around. Low ethical standards, okay? And ultimately all the policies, everything, the highest bidder can actually buy. So what democracy, we started with direct democracy, and now what is going on is that there is a big difference. And in fact, we say, practitioners say, blockchain can save the democracy. Democracy can be practiced, can be implemented. the way it was envisioned using blockchain. Already liquid democracy in US, Agora in Europe, these two projects have started to talk about how to make democracy actually sustainable and the practice implemented the way it was envisioned. And it is possible through the digital medium. The way we do business, what is happening ultimately, business has gone in the hands of few giants, and all others are simply fighting for their breadcrumbs. That is what is going to be, and it is already happening. Can it be more participative? Can it be more innovative? And can it be like business can be in the hands of those who actually working for it? So can it be done that way? Blockchain has solutions. It can provide. So if you see now what is happening, the way the world is going, this is one of the most big travel guide company, and they don't actually have a guide. You have Uber, they don't have any car for themselves. They're nothing. They don't have any assets, right? Facebook, in fact, Facebook is one case where they have everything, but they don't create or own a single content. Now, I think recently many of you may be knowing that Facebook has, after the last espionage or breakage or information leak, Facebook has said that they will adopt blockchain to provide safety, security for data. In fact, last year I was talking to some of my students that blockchain project we'll do, and we will create something like Facebook or WhatsApp, providing the security layer of blockchain. They kind of laughed at me, sir, no, don't think of too much, let us do something simple. But then today actually Facebook has, about a month back, Facebook actually announced that they are going to adopt blockchain. But there is no other way to save it, right? Alibaba, Airbnb, all these companies, they only work in the digital domain. They don't own any asset, they don't have anything else. So when world is going that way, you need to provide what? Provide security to the digital data. And that's to be safe, protected, and should not go into wrong hand. Data should not get mutilated. Data cannot get changed without your permission, your data which you own, and things like that. So who provides it? The technology is blockchain, right? Why and what? Blockchain provides a totally decentralized control. There is no central authority in the network. You have a peer-to-peer network of nodes, we say, and there is no central authority, it's totally decentralized. It is like in the sense of pure democracy actually, right? And trustlessness. You are doing a commitment, a transaction with A and B doing. There are always issues the A and B need not trust each other. Because there is always trust deficit when you are taking part in the business. So therefore what we are saying is that you need not trust the parties, you trust the network. So the whole issue of trust has come to the network of computing nodes or network of users than one or two individuals. And that is the strength of blockchain. It gives, it provides. Tamper-proof. Your data cannot be tampered by anybody else. It will be there as you have stored. So that is one thing. Smart contracts. Smart contract, you enter a contract. It is a smart way it is done, digital contract, and therefore what happens, it cannot get changed, it cannot be disturbed by anybody else, and both the parties will have to maintain their ends of the contract. I mean, in simple terms, that is what I will say, it is a peer-to-peer network, and a lot of crypto is used, cryptography, and therefore things are safe. So these are some of the applications. This is in business, real estate, insurance, medical health, everywhere. For example, just imagine you walk into the hospital taking a patient, your father or mother, and doctor says that you need to have a bypass immediately and there is no choice. Go and book your operation date, time, put 5 lakhs of rupees there, we'll start the operation. Now, who knows what the doctor has seen in the echocardiogram or ECG or whatever the test they have done, and who has actually taken the decision? Who will stand by, who will be accountable for the decision? No organization, hospital, clinic actually takes those responsibilities. Post-operative, pre-operative test, care, nobody accounts. Just bills are given and things are done. So if we can put in fact, of late Google is talking about this, that blockchain and AI is the way to put the whole healthcare business on track, where people will be accountable, people will be responsible for every action they take. So that is one important thing, medical healthcare. So we are also doing certain work in these things. So finally, I mean not finally, to start with, the story of blockchain, I would say this way. There's a new technological institution that will fundamentally change how we exchange value. And it's called the blockchain. It is becoming an institution now. While blockchain technology is relatively new, it's also a continuation of a very human story. The story is, we always find out ways to lower our uncertainty about one another so that we can exchange value. This is a human story. Everybody wants. Just now, what some time back we were saying that we want to minimize, we want to come to a equilibrium state. That is very natural. Any dynamic system ultimately wants to land up in one of those 5 or 4 equilibrium states. Similarly, it is very human to think that when you are exchanging value, minimize the uncertainty. You are giving somebody 1 lakh rupees and he is promising you he will give you in 3 days, but where is the certainty? You want to reduce that always. That is it is natural, and therefore blockchain. So, and what I feel is that in 20 years time, we'll be talking about blockchain because it is going to change the whole digital domain. It is going to change the way we do business. In fact, people are talking now that AI is going to change the way we do IT. I am saying blockchain is going to change the way we do AI. Even AI will be changed by the blockchain, because ultimately AI depends on what kind of data you get, what kind of data you look for, and that is where blockchain is going to make the change. Therefore, even the way you design your networks, deep learning, etc., will certainly undergo changes due to blockchain. So this is what it is. I will not talk too much. Right now, the whole blockchain usage is around here. Smart contract, blockchain, there are a number of different blockchain. Ethereum is one, then multi-chain is another one. Big chain DB is another one, where they tried to put in the idea of handling big data in the blockchain, right? So all those things are happening, and this is, I will not talk about, this is a comparison table of main. Hyperledger Fabric is headed by IBM, one consortium, where they are trying to bring in all the things of blockchain properties, where anybody can develop their own application, any organization using blockchain, right? But then there are pros and cons on all those things, which is listed here, and this is the big chain DB. And main issue of the whole thing is that current days, if you want to develop an application and run a business out of it, you need to handle big data. And none of these actually, the blockchain platforms, what I talked about or showed, they are not fit in a way, not ready to handle big data, right? Though big chain DB claims, and they use the background of MoDSIP-ID, they claim to be handling big data, but we'll show in our results that our proposal does much better than them. They cannot handle many things. So ultimately, whole thing, this year's triangle, that is, the scale of data that you can handle, consistency, and decentralization. To what degree you have decentralized the control on the network, what kind of scale of data, whether it is few terabytes or petabytes of data you can handle, and the number of nodes, and the consistency of the data. The data is never tampered, and it is remaining consistent. So these 3 things ultimately, and there is no blockchain design so far where all the 3 are done to a successful or comfortable degree, and therefore there are always compromises. Maybe 2 of them are satisfied, 1 of them is not, and things like that. So all the existing blockchain, ultimately we identify that one issue is this. In the performance, if you see performance graph, after some time it becomes flat. It is supposed to go up actually, that doesn't happen. And if that doesn't happen, it is actually not a realistic direct solution, because ultimately as you increase with time, the number of users, amount of data you handle will grow, and this graph is not going to help. This is a kind of drawback. And big data handling, actually this should have been across. They do not have no framework to handle big data. So we kind of worked for some time and ultimately came out with a solution that this should happen and we should be able to handle big data. This itself took a lot of time to figure out. And then we kind of worked, and our strategy was this: start with a scalable distributed database. So start with a distributed database, and on top of that put a layer of blockchain. This distributed database we chose to be HBase, which is a part of the HDFS Hadoop file system. And then on top of that we applied the blockchain. This is the whole Hadoop ecosystem is given here. HBase sits here. We put the blockchain layer on top of the HBase. So that is what it is, and this is the design. And what happens? Our performance goes up like this. So this is what, as I was showing, the graph becomes flat. We wanted a steep, almost linear performance. This is what we show. And this paper is published in the Supercomputing Frontiers of Asia in March. And it was very nice to see that within a month we had almost more than 1,500 downloads of the paper, and it is being cited, referred in many places by many groups. So these are, for data size of more than 1 TB, we showed the performance. Now this is the framework. We wanted to develop some application and show that this framework actually works. And we picked up one thing, e-voting. E-voting is commonplace nowadays. It could be for voting for an election or even an opinion poll. It's very important nowadays when you want to have a group together and collect everybody's opinion and then take some decisions. E-voting is very important. But then some of the things in currently existing e-voting systems, drawbacks are voters' anonymity cannot be ascertained or assured. At least if there are different degrees, the highest degree is that administrator can know who has voted for whom. And when you are voting for a person to occupy a position of power and influence, you will think twice that if your anonymity is revealed, then actually the whole idea of democracy or whatever it is compromised. So we really worked on that voters' anonymity has to be ascertained. It has to be assured under no cost. People or the people who are contending for something should not know who has voted for whom. That is one of the strongest things that, and we have assured that in our design. I'll show you. Okay, so okay, I'll go through this. Yeah, current and scalability is another part. Basically, it has to be scalable. For example, if you are talking about Indian parliamentary election, every constituency you have something like 25 to 30 lakhs voters. So how do you handle that? It should not happen. You put a Ethereum blockchain, which I'll show you, which can handle about few thousand in a day. So for one vote, it will take about 7 minutes to actually summarize and do this. So we needed something more versatile, more efficient, and also some crypto idea like zero knowledge proof. And so these are the things. And we need to provide auditability, public audit of the votes, right? Like how many votes which candidate has polled or which opinion has polled, and a public summary. And everybody who is interested or given responsibility should be able to audit those things or review those things. That is very important because the way democracy is going nowadays, all those things should be provided. And our solution actually provides these things. Okay, this is the protocol we designed. I will not go into details. What I want to show is that these are our key features: voters' anonymity through the zero knowledge proof. This is the advanced encryption system. These are some standards which we follow, which are crypto standards actually in all digital applications nowadays people follow. And then votes counting and vote verifiability. Vote has to be verified, whether it is a valid vote or not, right? That is a big issue. So all these things are done in the blockchain. So Ethereum blockchain, if we use these many votes, it will take 8 days. That is what we counted and we show for these many votes. And our solution, so this is how basically Ethereum goes like this. That is why that is the situation. And on HBase ChainDB, our solution, it goes like this. Same number of votes we can complete in a day. So that is what, and it can be improved. This is how it is. Another thing where I was talking about sharing of data, like medical records. A patient goes to one hospital, he has a lot of medical records, and that need to be shared with different hospitals and experts for getting guidance, second opinion and things like that. And that is a big thing patients should be able to give and get this thing. So here data sharing part, we are talking about big chain DB, and this is what the big chain DB does. You know, if you see it, just remember in the file size of 99 MB, creation and retrieval. So when you store a file, you create the file and store, and you need to retrieve. These are the two basic parameters. If your file system can give efficiently, then it is good. So if you just remember this number 11.57 and 6.321 in big chain DB, when you go to SBase chain DB, which is our solution, for the same size it is 3 seconds and 2 seconds. Okay, and most importantly, this kind of file size, okay, big chain DB cannot handle. Big chain DB cannot handle more than 100 MB, whereas SBase chain DB is handling up to 5. In fact, we have results up to 1 TB, 2 TB, etc., which can be handled and handled very efficiently. So these are few things I have put it here. We have not yet published these results. We are waiting to add on a little more work, but I thought that we should share with you all. So this is how they perform. These are the graph of the SBase, big chain DB. These are our SBase chain DB. This is how. Another important issue is the education. You know, we have a lot of students, we are teachers, and there are some recruiters. So whenever a student applies to a new institution for a, on further studies or to an organization for employment, degrees and things need to be verified, and that becomes a long process. Sometimes days, weeks, and things like that. Can it happen on a click of a button if everybody cooperates, right? So we want to put everything on the blockchain, and these are not, ours is not only group, these are another 2 groups in US working on the same thing, and we are designing a solution where using interplanetary file system, IPFS, this is the design basically. We have the students, educators, the universities or institutions, recruiters, and there's a witness where data is actually verified and checked. So whole thing is on the blockchain, and therefore data is protected. It cannot be mutilated. The student cannot be harmed. Student's interest is taken care of. At the same time, anybody, recruiter or whoever it is, they will know the details what is kept in the blockchain. Details including what kind of courses the student has done, what kind of assignments, what kind of programming, into what depth, etc. It depends on the institution and the students how much they put on the blockchain, so the recruiter will, on a click of a button, will get to know who is this person, what is his credibilities, what he has undergone, history, and things like that. So this is another wonderful thing that is happening. And another thing is this. I know we are going beyond, but this is one important thing and very, I know. This is health insurance using blockchain. You know, even in advanced nations, if a person goes to a hospital and wants to do a insurance claim, it takes months, few days. Okay, we want to again, goal is to make it happen, click of a button. Patient comes to hospital, comes out, gives the card on the counter, then and there, whichever insurance company transfers the money to hospital and patient is discharged. Can that happen, right? So currently these are the pain points. These are 7 things we have identified and how to alleviate ourselves or the system from it. So what we have done is, our design is this. These are certain figures like how many billions and trillions are being lost in the frauds in this healthcare insurance system. And by 2040, it is some $18 trillion. That is the projected amount, okay? So how to save ourselves or give a new direction, right? So that is what it, and all these loss ultimately goes to the families, right, by increasing the premium. Who is losing? We are losing. Company is not bothered, government is not bothered, nobody is bothered, right? That's what it is. So this is our design, and this is how we want to implement the design. Ultimately, currently the best survey shows that it takes 17 to 30 days. We want to make it happen on real time. So this is our promise or objective or design, And we feel that if we implement this properly, students are seated here, right there, they are the person, workhorses behind this. Yeah, we believe that we will realize something near this. So with these few words, I think, and as I said, I have already said this. So this is the story of the blockchain. And after all this discussion, finally the issues are the scalability. Whatever we do, it has to scale up with the load on the system. That is most important. And for that, one is the kind of high performance techniques, what we are saying. Other is very important thing is that blockchain, there's a consensus mechanism. The participating nodes, participating parties will have to arrive at a consensus. There are mechanisms for that, and that is actually time consuming. If Ethereum is running slow today because of that consensus mechanism. So we are also working on designing some distributed algorithms for this consensus mechanism, which will give very good result. Other important issue is the interoperability. If you have seen the solution of healthcare insurance, there is a clinic, medical hospital, the individual, patient family, insurance company, there may be some government agencies in between. So multiple agencies are there will be multiple blockchains. So these blockchains will have to interoperate. They have to talk to this. There should be something commonality or something which will make them talk to one another. That is we are capturing in this term interoperability. In fact, for the education thing, we said that the student, the educator, recruiter, then the witness, and all these things, they should be able to interoperate. So how do we make the blockchains interoperate? That is one of the big challenge. And of course, the storage, which has been a challenge all through. As with time goes, blockchains will increase, storage is going to be an issue. So these are the three main issues. If actually within 20 years, we'll be talking about blockchain as we are talking about internet now. These three main issues have to be solved, and a lot of people are working. We are also working on some of these things. So with these few words, I will stop now. I know we had taken, I have taken more time than allotted. I had taken permission because I had 2 presentations to make. I thank all of you for giving a patient hearing, and thank all the participants for having come to this institution. I felt that it is necessary, or it is my duty to tell you about the institution, our education system. That is why I took some extra time. And this kind of work, these are only few samples. My colleagues in the department, we are having work in machine learning, deep learning, computer vision, image processing, post-quantum cryptography, information security, digital forensics, and things like that. Besides mathematical modeling and image processing, medical image processing. So these are some samples. Any of you have some ideas, some suggestions, we will be very happy, and also to work together. So that is why this presentation is made very, in a way, at a higher level. I have not gone to many depth of it. So with these few words, I will stop. Thank you very much.
Sairam, good morning or good afternoon. I want to introduce the next speaker, Professor Carmen Caicedo. She's from Puerto Rico. So the US has 50 states and territories. So Puerto Rico is one of the territories. And just like you have Pondicherry here, for example. And Professor Caicedo is at the one of the 3 main institution structures in Puerto Rico. One is the public institution structure, which is the University of Puerto Rico, which is where she went for her master's studies. And then there are 2 important private school systems, and she'll talk about one of them, which is where she's from, which is the Interamericana University, and they have multiple campuses. She comes from the Bayamon campus. So she actually came she finished her master's in the University of Puerto Rico, and then she went on to become a faculty there, and she had this opportunity to come from her institution to George Mason to actually finish her PhD in computational science and informatics. So she has now gone back as an associate professor of mathematics and at the same institution, Bioman. And for me, it has been fortunate when she came to George Mason. I happened to be one of the instructors, and I kept seeing her taking all my classes. I didn't know why, but then it was very interesting that that collaboration led to now we are in lots of projects together and helping lots of students from Puerto Rico. Not at the scale of Carlos, but we are trying to do our once each summer, one or two students, we are trying to excite them with some topics that they want to pursue. And she's also the project director of one of the big projects from the US Department of Education, and which is given to minority serving institutions. And so when I say minority serving institutions, you will understand when Carmen will present to you. So for example, African Americans, Hispanic Americans are considered, and women. So they classify as minorities in terms of the ethnicity, and minority serving institutions are primarily what percentage of students are minorities. For example, Interamericana is about 100% faculty, students, everybody is considered. So as far as National Science Foundation is, they have these categories and all that listed. So she actually happens to have one of those very prestigious grants from us for a minority serving institution from the U.S. Department of Education, and that actually builds student success network using educational technology and pertinent context for Puerto Rican students. And I have had the great pleasure to have her as my co-mentor on several undergraduate research projects to use as an effective strategy to motivate students, academically in the system. And you will see why we were able to get the student excited for what he wanted to do. And so, Carmen.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. So I must apologize. Yesterday, because of jet lag, I was barely a human being. So today I must greet you. And I'm going to try in Hindi. A wise Indian woman helped me. So, Bhagwan ke duva se sab acha hai. Very nice. So, yes, I am very fortunate to be part of this wonderful, wonderful group, because this is not mine. This is never mine, right? So, and I will begin also acknowledging and thanking this NSF grants that have made possible. The first one, of course, the fact that a lady from Puerto Rico is right now talking to you. And the second one, the one that has been behind the opportunity given by Dr. Seshire for students that are minorities, Hispanics, and most of them poor, of course, to have an opportunity to go to a very prestigious institution in the United States. So that's part of why we need to thank everybody and the organizers. So yes, definitely I went out of that box when I come to India. So this is Puerto Rico. This is an island in the Caribbean. And as you see, it is an important strategic place to enter the United States in a way, besides Mexican border. And that is the challenge right now, because as another point of entry for the United States, drugs can and are very attractive port for the illicit drug business in the island. And that added to the fact that we only have a 3.5 million population. And people are yet migrating to the United States after certain very harsh historical situations, including a hurricane. Then how can we not do something about losing our youth? If we are losing our population, the population is shrinking continuously. So therefore, it was a great motivation for our students to deal with this issue. So this might not look like big numbers, but we are a small population. So having 6,000, more than 6,000 youth involved in gangs is too much. And certainly, the 17% of them are younger than 24, but the oldest initiated at a very young age anyways. And also, of course, these risk factors are related to social economical needs. There's no denying that it is attractive for a young man to and a poor person who doesn't have access to even a good education to then have all this handed to them if they start in this very lucrative business. So a proposed solution for our students was to look at the SIR models and see if we could try to model this problem as an epidemic. So when we talk about drug-related, we need to know what we're talking about. Maybe you're not familiar. We're talking about a gang, organized crime, that is dedicated to illegal drug trafficking in hotspots, and this mostly in the urban housing projects. And there is usually organized in this way, an owner, which might be an adult, that barely nobody knows or meets with him, the gunmen that take care of the security issues, the satellites, and the runners that are basically watchmen and people who move and hide drugs, and that is where usually the youth are involved. And the picture over here is a curiosity because this big gang, 102 arrests that happened in January 2008, the name is the minors of the gang. So as a matter of fact, this is not going to stay like that. I mean, 102 arrests doesn't mean they're going to be removed. Many of these cases go back. They fail at the court of justice and they go back to criminal activities. So what do we do with this? I think that the biggest problem where we found this nice, creative way of looking at gangs as an epidemic, as any other health problem, was how do we deal with parameters here? There's no physical laws. They're basically what they call floating parameters, so we have to be basically consistent with expectations of experts. So we started with collaborations with a professor who is a criminal justice faculty and also ex-law enforcement. He did interviews with ex-gang members. Of course, literature and demographic that is available, as most of these illegal activities are very hidden, and some contact with government officials. Like in this case, we visited our only representative as a territory of the United States, which is the Puerto Rican resident commissioner, and we visited with the policy advisor. We thought it was a nice idea, except he didn't think it was politically correct to call a gang adult a mosquito, infectious mosquito, but anyways. Besides that, we go to the origins, very well explained models of SIR. And this is an example what MTBI, that Dr. Castillo Chavez directs, can do. Because from this modeling of Zika, his students were able to develop a much complex model because Zika is a peculiar transmission disease in the fact that it's not only vector-borne, which means mosquitoes, but it's also transmitted by humans. So if you expand that a little bit, then you would get a new model where not only youth get infected by adult gang members, but they also can infect each other. And the same thing happens with the gang adults. So the most simple assumptions, like in the beginning, always the population constant, not having another gang active at that very same time. Now we will call this model the susceptible, which is almost every youth, as we have known from interviews with gang members that live in those conditions. The gang, the ones that went into a gang, and finally those that have been removed, which might have been removed because of just this process. So same dynamics for adults. we can have a susceptible adult gang member and removed, which means that they will go to jail. Certainly adults will go to jail more time, but not youth. And that, I think, can be shown and expected as in the solutions of the model. Because for youth, there are special laws. They get 3 opportunities. They're very lax, and they go back into criminal activities. So the modified gang model will have much more, many parameters for the interactions, and also 6 governing equations according the, yes, sir.
Over a period of time.
Yes, so
yeah, got my
we
question.
considered, that's why we considered not only a youth going up to 24 years. So as long as the 10 years is still being considered youth. So we start. Yeah.
The susceptible youth will become susceptible adult, for example.
Yes, that would be a nice
Yeah.
modification, yes, certainly. Now, after we have also considering Dr. Castillo-Chavez's way of defining the next generation matrix as our way of having a new reproduction number. We have also heard Dr. Arush actually talking about the inflows and the outflows at the leaking and the filling. Well, then we will have from there consider the changes using Jacobians, and we get the ample or bigger version for matrix of what a reproduction number will look like, of course, considering the spectral radius, which will give the greater scale change. And this is the first result, considering all different parameters. And then it was a very, how can I say, appropriate to use those mixing patterns, different mixing patterns in the interactions between adults and youth. And that's exactly also from Castillo-Chavez. So we have a preferred interaction. In this way, we're considering that they equally can interact between youth or between adults. And in that case, with big R numbers, we see that around 80, more than 80% of what we consider youth became gang members in less than a year, while adults would be around 50% of the susceptibles, and that with demographic data. Now with the proportionate mixing pattern, then we use a very different and independent way of limiting the way that they interact. So in this way, you can only have a portion, pi, that will freely interact with each other or with adults. And in that case, well, there's not much difference. But we did, the study did complete a comparison. What happens as that proportion starts to increase for the adults? Well, in that case, you see that it will, as it increases, you will have, as it increases, you will have lesser activity and longer. It's going to be slower, the gang involvement. And that is exactly what takes us to the like with like mixing pattern, which is probably not a surprise for anyone. If you do not allow our youth to interact with the contaminated adults, we will definitely see no infection. And here, for adults, we will have the slowing mechanism that we saw in the previous slide. So considering that the parameters are something that are really hard, we were ready with a parameter estimation algorithm that uses Nelder-Mead simplex from Lagrius. And we see that as we start with a known parameter of 25, and we go up to a guess of 100, we still are within 4% of error, which means that it's working pretty well, even if we go far away from the original value. Now, this is a little tip. If you're using MATLAB, the Nelder-Mead, you can find it as fmin search. And in R, it will be an optim. That will be the default. So with that said, just thank you. Okay, any other questions? Yes, please.
I just have a question to a lot of the people that get involved in gas in Puerto Rico. Do they come from El Salvador, Mara Salvatrucha, or?
Ooh, no, actually, they're more locals, but that is an important application that people have been considering because it's a very
because they're in Mexico, they're in the United States, and actually I think they got started in the United States and then they went back to El Salvador.
Yeah.
But that's not the reason, because I've been in El Salvador, and there is about 60,000 individuals involved in that Mara Salvatrucha, which is probably the most dangerous gang group. And the consequences for El Salvador are immense. But so that was a question: was any relationship between migration patterns or not?
No, I think most of the drugs-related, at least that it arrives to Puerto Rico, comes from the South America, not Central America.
And that's surprising. And what about New York, the United States?
Oh, they want to go to the United States.
No, but what about there is no movement? I mean, there is a lot of movement of individuals from mainland and the island.
They will want to move the drug, maybe not the individuals. That's how it goes.
Okay.
So the individuals are locally operating because there's some people who use drugs in Puerto Rico, but you know that the big money is in the United States.
And why is Mexico out of the equation, where the experts have drugs?
Yes.
It's a beautiful model because modeling social models as social problem models are very complicated, especially with the data. So in this, what type of data that you are using? Is it point estimates that you are getting from these collaborators that you have?
Exactly.
Or they have gained some time series gang activities, or?
No, not the data from gangs activities, but what we can do, the best we can do is from gangs that have been already caught, because there's a lot of urban legends around the gangs. They even call themselves as the name of another gang without being exactly the same gang. So really the truth is of what is happening at this moment, it's not going to be available.
We were going to hope the people that are coming into prison and being coming in as gangs. We are hoping to get some data from that also.
Yeah.
And there's just a related thing. Why is how is youth going to influence adult in gang activities? This seems like, I mean, I can understand adult influencing youth. Why youth is influencing?
Oh, yes. Well, the influence of the youth on the adults is the smallest parameter, but the part that the youth has in the gang is humongous because they are the risk takers and they are the face and they're the ones that do the work. So it's really related also to human trafficking.
Let's all thank Professor Casaida for her wonderful talk. I just accept a token of love. We'll all break for lunch now. So the participants will be having lunch at South Indian Canteen. We again, like yesterday, we have Dr. Bharatwaj and Dr. Sham taking care of your lunch. Okay, all the participants together will be having in the first floor of South Indian Canteen their lunch. And we will be again assembling back at 2:15, not at 2 o'clock because we just spread into the session. So 2:15 we'll assemble back here for the next session.
And I apologize because I had to leave, but I'll come back.
Okay. Sure, sir. Participants are going to stay till 15. So.